Thinking Aloud. Conversations on the leading edge of knowledge and discovery with psychologist Jeffrey Mishlove.
Hello and welcome. I'm Jeffrey Mishlove. Our topic today is listening to the wind. My guest is Mona Delfino, who is a healer based in Eugene, Oregon. She is also formerly a licensed massage therapist and a nurse practitioner. She is the author of The Sacred Language of the Human Body. Welcome once again, Mona.
Thank you, Jeff. It's good to be here again.
It's a pleasure to be with you. We did a previous interview, and the title was Listening to Your Body. And you talked a lot about the language of the body. Now, listening to the wind is similar, but very different.
Okay. And where would you like me to begin on that one?
Well, let's talk about your experience with Pele.
Okay.
And on top of I guess it was the Kilauea volcano.
Okay. I'd be very happy to. Thank you for this.
And I understand today is a special day to have that discussion.
Today is October 14th, and it is the anniversary of when I first went to Hawaii. The very first time I was asked and invited to go to Hawaii. I ended up getting a first-class ticket to Hawaii. I lived in Oregon for many, many years, and clients of mine had a house over there, but they also had 4 other houses. So they invited me to go because I helped them sell their motor coach on eBay, and I told them how it was going to be done. I actually read the information of who was going to come get it and how much they were going to pay them, and it came to fruition that it exactly is what happened.
Well, that's an example of listening to the wind.
Listen to the wind. You pay attention to what you're hearing. Yeah. And so I turned around and said, okay, so they sold their motor coach on eBay, and it shocked him to pieces because he said, are they still selling stuff like that on eBay? I said, oh, honey, they're selling everything on eBay. I said, yeah, that's what's going to happen. So he wanted to move with his wife, his beautiful wife, to Hilo. And then the bottom line is that he turned around and sold his motor coach and thanked me by coming in to see me where I was working in Oregon again. And he said, hey, Mona, you like my hat? And on his hat, it said Hilo, Hawaii. And I said, yeah, love your hat. And he goes, you want one? And I said, sure, I'll take it. What color do you want? I said, oh, sweetie, I don't know. I'll take any color you want to give me. Well, what color do you want? And I said, well, I'll take a red one. He goes, you have to come to Hawaii to get it. Pulls out of his pocket a first-class ticket for me to come and see the house that they decided to live in Hawaii because I helped them sell their motor coach. So it was a reward on some level. I was able to receive this. And so I didn't realize it, but I felt so at home in Hawaii. And so when I landed there, the song was playing in the Hilo airport when I landed. It was Brother Is, and Brother Is sings Somewhere Over the Rainbow. So that song was playing in the airport. I got into their car, said hello. They took me in their car was playing Somewhere Over the Rainbow. We went into a restaurant to eat, and in the restaurant they were playing Somewhere Over the Rainbow. We got out of the restaurant. Now this time I'm going, wait a minute, is there any other music in Hawaii? And I love it, but hey, And so then I walked out of the restaurant, and we start walking down to go shopping, and in the first shop I go into, they're playing Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Okay, I get it. Something's going on here. Well, also I was a music teacher for a short time for kindergartners in Oregon, and for part-time work, and it was beautiful. And I was teaching them Somewhere Over the Rainbow before I left.
And you used to perform.
I did. I was a singer, dancer, performer. Now I just channel it all into everything else I do. And so the beautiful part was that I realized that I was being welcomed to the island by Brother Is, who had passed away. And I kept thinking, this has got to be a welcoming, because there's no other way. You could hear it 5 different times when you're going home and to and from. I had just got there. I wasn't even on the island more than an hour and a half. And so anyway, I knew all of a sudden everything was welcoming me. I felt welcomed. And then, so we get over to their house, and I'm thinking, wow, they live right on the water and everything. So it's very beautiful. And so then they ended up calling a friend of theirs who was a kapuna. Mm-hmm. Kapuna is an elder, and he's very beautiful. He was a Papa K. Kepalino, and Papa was 5th generation Kamehameha. And so they asked me, they have all these different kapunas. Mono, do you want to see a kapuna while you're here? And I said, sure. I was very easygoing. Sure, I'll see one. And my other mentor had just passed away, Karen Land, and I felt like I had taken on some of her stuff. So I thought, well, this will be really good to see somebody to help me get through a lot of those old death things that I was picking up from Karen. Mm-hmm. So it was October 14th. I got in there, we went to go see Papa K, and Papa looked at me, and his words were, he was in a wheelchair, he had diabetes. I don't know if you're my alakai or if I'm your alakai. And what that meant was an alakai is a student of a master teacher. Mm-hmm. He recognized inside of me that I was a reader, an energy runner, and a healer. So he knew immediately who I was. Now, ironically, we had a lot of the same energy, but in his world, he was going to start teaching me what I wanted to know. I didn't come there to toot my horn. I went there to learn the Hawaiian. I wanted everything. I wanted to learn the traditional lomi lomi because I had been a massage therapist and no one could explain it to me. Mm-hmm. So I went there to learn. Well, the night before I saw Papa, this is important. The night before I saw Papa was my first night on the island, and I was staying in my client's house. It was 3:00 in the morning. I was woken up by a sound. The sound was somewhere outside of the house. I couldn't figure it out, but it sounded like a foghorn out in the water. Mm-hmm. But it's 3:00 in the morning, and all of a sudden I heard this, ooh, so it sounded like a foghorn. Well, it woke me up. So a few minutes later, I'm just laying there. What is that noise? I get up and I look out there. There's nothing out the window to the water I could see. So I go back to bed. All of a sudden, I hear it again. And this time I hear another tone to go with it. So I hear this, ooh, and then I hear this, ooh, and they're going, ooh, all at the same time. So in my mind, I'm half asleep. I start putting a picture to what that ooh, and then all of a sudden a third tone comes in. So I'm just laying there and I hear this ooh, 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 ooh. So then they all run together. Guess what it made up? A DNA strand.
Oh.
It looked to me as though all of these cycles were going into a DNA. Mm-hmm. And so I could see this color coming in that was a blue, and I thought, what am I seeing? What is this?
You're seeing the music.
I'm seeing the music in front of me, and I'm going, I have my eyes closed, and I can just hear these noises. So, of course, my heart just felt like, wow, that's really cool. Wish I knew what it was. So I go back to sleep, wake up in the morning, and I looked at my clients, and I said, did you hear any music last night? Did you hear any sounds in the middle of the night? Because when I came out, nobody was up. They said, no, we didn't hear anything. So then when they contacted Papa K, and we went to go see Papa K the next day, I said to Papa, I heard these noises last night, and I heard this music, and I heard it and then it became a DNA, and all. And he turns around, he says, that was Pele getting your attention. I said, it was Pele? He says, oh yeah. Pele is welcoming you to the Aina. And I said, tell me more about that. I got chills up and down my spine. Tell me more about that. He says, Mona, you were called here. You're not here by an accident. You came here to live. She wants you to come home. And I just like, wow. But it sounded right. It sounded right because I felt so comfortable there. Mm-hmm. And then with all the music that I got from Bada Is on the way in, I thought, ooh, maybe I'm being called to come back to Hawaii. I never lived there, never saw it in this lifetime. Well, I found out later that Papa did some work on me and he said I was a light kahuna. So he said I had been in Hawaii from the beginning of time. And he said, you understand this stuff, so we need you to come back here because our island is suffering. We need sovereignty, and we need you back. So I thought, wow. So after this, I went home. I was only there for 10 days. That was my ticket time. So then I go back to Oregon, and I sold everything. I immediately told all of my clients that I would not be back, that I was going to go live in Hawaii for a while. Didn't know how it was going to end up or where it was going to go. I sold all my goods. I had nothing left there to take except my luggage. So I get over there, and it didn't seem as paradisey when I got there because Papa was in the hospital. He was getting his leg amputated. His wife was in the hospital. She was sick as a dog. Nobody was there. So when I got there, I thought, what's going on? I just sold everything and I'm here, you know. So instead of whining about it and wondering whether or not, I asked one of their coworkers and friends if I could borrow a car, because I didn't have a car. I had nothing. And so they said, yeah, you can borrow it for a while. The Hawaiians are very, very open and giving, and so I felt very open and loving with that. So anyway, I borrowed their car and I went straight to the volcano. I went to go see Pele, and I said, I'm here for her.
Pele is the goddess of the volcano.
Pele is the goddess of the volcano. Yeah. She's been the goddess for millions of years. She actually moved, if you follow all the folklore, and Joseph Campbell lived in Hawaii, and he talked about all the folklore. And basically, Pele she is an entity. She's a being. She's real. And what she did was she was over in Kauai, because Kauai was the first island to come up. After a period of 50,000 years, she ended up moving herself over to Hilo. There's a lot to this story. But anyway, to keep going from my point of view, I wanted to see what she had to say, and I didn't know how to listen to her. But I thought, I feel very tight with her, because if she wants me to come home, then she must know what I'm supposed to do here. So I went back up to the volcano. I went into the Volcano National Park. I went into the Kilauea area. And this was, of course, before everything was blowing up. And I got into Halimau crater, right on the side of it. And I stood on the edge, and I opened my arms, and I cried, Pele, if you're here, listen to me. Listen to me. I just got here. You wanted me to come home. I sold everything. I'm here now. What do you want me to do? The wind blew. And I didn't get it at first. The wind blew. And it started to get even louder. And I just didn't know. I thought, what am I waiting for? But I didn't get it at first. Then I started hearing some words coming through the wind. I could hear words like aloha, and the ha, the aloha, and the mahalo, R-H-A. And all of that is about the ha breath. Hawaiians do the ha breath. If you saw the movie Moana, it's very similar, because that little girl in the movie actually does a ha breath to the negative spirit that they think is a bad spirit. And she goes, ha. And that's when two Hawaiians meet. They put their foreheads together and they blow into their mouth. It's to present breath of life. Okay? So they don't do any kissing. They blow. And so here the wind came. She was giving me the ha breath, and I never caught it until I started to hear these words coming in. I thought I was nuts. What is that? What am I getting? And so suddenly I started paying attention. When I got aloha, then the wind blew louder, and I heard it again, even stronger. Aloha. And the wind blew again. I wondered, am I making this up, or am I really hearing it? I was really hearing it. A few minutes later, I blew back. I took a chance, and I blew back, and I went, aloha. And as I did that, the wind came again. And this time I could hear more words. And she was telling me, through the feeling of what I was listening to. It was a feeling. And then I could hear words. It was all at the same time. She said to me, welcome, daughter. Welcome home. And then she started to tell me things about what was happening with Papa. I started to hear a whole spiel of information. So it's opening myself to listening instead of talking to her. It was a prayer, but I was actually listening for the answer. You know, because when we pray, we don't listen for an answer. We usually spill our guts, you know. So in this case, I ended up receiving the information, and she was telling me things about Papa, and I just kind of assumed that this is what I heard. So I was new to the island, and I didn't know anything else, and I was new to everything. So when I went back and Papa had come home about a week later, I would continue to go see Pele, and I would continue to get answers, and I would talk to her, and I would hear answers. So I would listen to what the wind was saying. But I'm telling you, anybody can do this. Anybody can go outside in their yard, go out barefoot. We like barefoot. Barefoot is grounding. Barefoot is listening to the earth. So you want to go, this is shaman stuff, you guys, but this is important because we can all do it. So you go outside, you put your feet on the ground, and you talk to Pele. She's everywhere. She has ascended. She's no more just on the island, okay? She's not stuck in a volcano. That's why there's so much movement going on right now over there. There's more to the story. She's all over the world. So what we do is we just listen for a moment, get real quiet, and then you can do it anywhere in the world. Watch what happens. The wind blows back. And it's not the same wind that you're used to. It's not just a random wind. What it is it is a point of view where you are now communicating with the ethers. You're communicating to something much larger than yourself. So whether you want to call it Pele, or whether you want to call it God, or whatever you want to call it, it's just beautiful. So you can actually get the wind will blow back to you. And when you feel that wind blow back to you, it's going to be soft. It's going to be gentle. And you're going to hear something in it. You will listen. I have clients all over the world that have come for retreats, and I teach each and every one of them how to do this because they can hear something. They don't know what it is, but they know they're starting to feel a difference, and they're feeling like they're losing their old identity, or they're feeling like they're surrendering. That's a good word. Like they're surrendering to something, but it's just all in the wind. And so when this last client I had was she worked at Johns Hopkins University. She's actually an RN. She does study and research for them. She's no dummy. She's incredibly intelligent, but a thinker. I had her go outside and do this exercise. And she started bawling her eyes out. She cried like a baby. I said, "What are you crying for?" And she said, "She loves me. She loves me. I'm feeling love." You're feeling aloha. That's love. And so you're feeling the purity of spirit through the wind. So when you
Which is what you felt.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. It's continuous purity. When you feel like you're stuck, when you feel like you don't have enough love in your life, or you feel like you're hurting and you have no one to listen to you, go talk to the wind. I'm telling you, there is something to this, because every single time, I must have done this over 200 times, Jeff, and every time is different, and every time I hear something different. On top of that, it's a shaman thing. You become more aware. It's awareness in consciousness.
Well, it also suggests to me something that I have to confess I believe. The wind is alive.
The wind is alive, and the wind is an element. And basically it's air. It's an element. Elements are important. And so they're like your chakras.
Yeah.
But they're chakras for the whole world.
And in the medieval times, they talked about the elementals as a class of spirits.
And people can still look at it like that today, because it hasn't changed much. It's just in your concept of what you're seeing. That's why people go, well, there have been so many fires, oh my God, their fires are horrible. They're everywhere. Well, fires are also cleansing. Fire is cleansing. Air is cleansing. That's all cleansing. Water is cleansing. And so, all the elements are actually to help us to learn how to clean.
Now, you mentioned in your book that when you were up there on the volcano, and it reminded you of a phrase used by indigenous peoples about listening to the wind. So this is indigenous knowledge that has, I presume, spread widely. It's not associated with just Hawaii or just, I know you studied with a Cherokee teacher. Yes. It's not just Cherokee either.
No. But it's a part of us. It's that depth within all of us that learns how to flip that switch. It's not all about what we're seeing in this world. A lot of people are talking today about 3-dimension, 4-dimension, 5 dimensions, so all it is we're raising our consciousness. Mm-hmm. So whether you want to say a dimension or whether you want to say I'm lifting my consciousness, everything's vibration of energy, everything. So if you don't have, you don't listen to negative music or negative talk, or you turn off the TV and don't listen to the government sometimes, just shut it off. Start finding the things you love about life. That's what's going to entice us to become more vibrant. Mm-hmm. And that's what vibration is. Yeah.
Well, I think it's interesting that the word for spirit or soul in many different languages, Hebrew, Greek, is the same as the word for breath. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. We breathe every day. We go in and out, in and out, in and out, thousands of times. Yeah. And if we didn't have oxygen, we couldn't have our heart beating. Oxygen feeds the heart. It feeds the body. Of course it does. And where does your cellular memory come from? It comes from your breath. And I'll tell you why. Because when you're in a panic attack, when something or an aha moment hits you, go, ah. Everything is breath. It's a relation to the breath. And so the breath is cleansing in itself. That's why we breathe in, we breathe out, we breathe in, we breathe out, because cellular memory is about the oxygenated cells that are in the body that we can actually. How does Deepak Chopra phrase it? He says, quantum physics is the space between the cells. It's not necessarily in the cells. It's a space between the cells where your memory is.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. So in that space is where all your functioning is. That's what you're going on, And then, of course, the body adheres to that. So then you're getting a new kidney every 6 months. You're getting a new liver every 4 months. Your body is constantly changing because your cells don't ever stay the same. Why do we stay sick? We stay sick because we don't change. We don't listen.
Well, in an earlier interview, we talked about psychic transference, how we pick up energy from everybody. Mm-hmm. And it dawned on me, when we breathe, we literally do the same. Every breath we take, and I have read, and I've no reason to doubt it, there are molecules of oxygen that have been breathed in and breathed out by every other human who has ever lived on the planet.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It doesn't matter what day, what time, when, who, what, where, or how. It has been noted that butterfly wings on one side of the world, you can feel them on the other side of the world. Yeah. It's so simple.
Mm-hmm. Well, listening to the wind is also a way, I suppose, of listening to yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's a matter of listening to yourself. The hard part, again, is about that trust factor. Mm-hmm. We haven't learned to trust. I know many, many people who become very psychic in their own way, if you want to use that term, or they become more intuition has lifted inside of them, but they're afraid because they don't know how to trust it. And they don't believe in themselves because they don't think they have anything more to offer.
Well, that's the difference, I suppose, between a professional working in the field and so many people I have seen, including myself, frankly, who we do remote viewing, have a great experience. It's the first time effect in remote viewing. Yeah. It's people see it over and over and over again. But then the second, third, fourth, and fifth time, those are the hard ones.
Yes, those are the hard ones. That's right. That's right. Mm-hmm. We talk about that at HeartMath too, is that remote viewing. It means a lot. Yeah. So we're learning how to identify better. The most important thing to remember is that you can express yourself now when you didn't know how before. We can start expressing ourselves by trusting that we can react different. Mm-hmm. Again, our actions, our reactions, and our non-actions are going to be based what our life is about. And everything that you react to is what your new action is going to be down the road. So your reactions can actually promote your actions and vice versa.
Well, you committed an act of extraordinary trust when you sold everything you owned and moved to Hawaii. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I have done so much of this trusting for so long. Mm-hmm. That's why I have no fear. I have no issues.
I suppose you could say it's like a trust muscle.
It's a trust muscle. Oh, and here, thank you for saying that, because I want to share with you, right now, with all of, ever since we had that August eclipse, And we had the eclipse in the United States, and it came over Oregon, and it was that massive eclipse about 2 years ago.
Total eclipse of the sun.
When that happened, that was our change of life. That's what happened. The dark came the light, and the light came the dark. And I felt it so strongly. It was about 2 years ago, I think that happened, in August. There has been a switchover. People's hearts are changing. And people who don't listen to their heart, you might say it's the same thing. If you don't listen to your heart, then a lot of times you're going to develop some situations inside of you that don't feel right. But there's also another factor. Our hearts are changing, and people are thinking there's something wrong with them. I've talked to more people who think they're having cardiac arrest, or think that they're having some kind of congestive heart failure, or they think that there's something. They go to the doctor. Oh, no, their EKG came out fine. They're fine. There's nothing wrong with these people. So what is going on? Some people feel like there's a missed heartbeat, and suddenly, but it's not continuous. It's just once in a while. Or sometimes you feel like your heart's beating out of your chest. Other times it feels like, wait a minute, why am I feeling all this stuff? You're not necessarily cognizant of feeling different, but your heart is starting to move different. Let me tell you something. This is a new wave. This is a wave of energy that's coming through our world right now. And what's happening is our hearts are being affected. It's a good thing we're talking about this today, because I'm sure a lot of people are wondering. That does not mean don't go to your doctor. That does not mean don't get an EKG. It means that what is happening is that the hearts are shifting so that we have no more fear in our body. If you are aware of a vibration and your vibration's pretty high, you can start thinking that, why am I feeling this? Some people might end up with high blood pressure and they're going, I didn't do anything. Nothing's happened. Why did I all of a sudden get high blood pressure? The heart is shifting gears. There's a part of us now that are changing over from an old lifetime and old memories. The old must go for the new to come in. You have to lose something to gain something else. So the heart right now is beginning to achieve a new balance, but it's coming from releasing old memory that you consciously and subconsciously do not want to keep anymore. So the heart's starting to beat different. What we're noticing is that there's a difference in the way that we are responding or reacting to people's pain or to the world. If you get too caught up, of course, in that lower vibration of what's going on out there, and you're not giving yourself enough love or attention, which we all need, okay, right now we need to nurture ourselves. And we do, because what doesn't need to be in the body is coming out. It's a whole different concept. Instead of saying there's something wrong with me, there's something right with me. My body is reacting to purging. It's reacting to releasing. Yeah. I don't have to feel that there's something wrong all the time. If I go to a doctor and he says I'm fine and they can't find anything wrong, then you are having what we call ascension symptoms.
Ascension symptoms.
Ascension symptoms. You're changing.
Yeah.
And it's okay.
Well, we did talk in an earlier interview about the role of the environment. The wind is really part of the environment. And I can't help but feel that I don't like to focus on current events. I like to do timeless interviews, but I do know that a United Nations report came out last week saying that basically it's too late to reverse global warming. That in the next 40, 50, maybe 100 years at the outside, but it seems to be accelerating. Coastal cities all over the world are going to be flooded. I mean, that you would think that has to affect the heart.
It does. Actually, this last hurricane, and thank you for mentioning that about the current events, but this last hurricane, Michael, came out of nowhere. It came out of nowhere. They didn't expect this. It just all of a sudden came out into a storm, and then it went, whoa, and it affected 4 states. And so, there was a lot of flooding out of the blue, and people couldn't understand it. Devastated.
Towns completely destroyed.
Mexico.
A complete city.
Completely took it out. Yeah. And so what we're learning is that I have a friend who's an astrologer, and she's 83 years old. Yeah. Sharp as a tack.
And that was the wind that destroyed that town. It was the wind.
Yes. It's called cleansing. Now, it also is in communication to the human humanity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it has to do something. Now, if you are aware of not just the destruction, but look what happened with human race. We have to have human race education because people feel for other people. If we're one unit and somebody gets wiped out like that, did you see how many rescue trucks, how many people from other states said, we're coming to your rescue. We will help you rebuild.
Thousands. Mm-hmm.
It's unprecedented. So how many people are coming to the rescue of other people? This is what's going to help us in the long run. Energy's energy, okay? And so as the global warming comes, we don't have to feel affected by something that may or may not kill us. What we have to do is work as a team. It always comes down to unity. And if we start working as a team, we don't have to have these kinds of storms. This is waking us up. It's a car accident. We're waking up.
Mm-hmm.
We're learning what's going on. Why is this happening? Because we're not listening. So the more we listen to each other, do community service, have fun, talk to people, throw parties, do group events. This is what we can do today. It's group events. It's coming together as people.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know you've been involved in community service all your life.
Yes, I have.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I have. And it made me love people more.
Mm-hmm.
Because, it's not what people go through that defines who they are. It's who they are and how they get through it.
Mm-hmm.
And you will hear story after story after story about people who are heroes and never speak up. They never say a word. Every person is a hero. Joseph Campbell, he used to talk about the hero's journey.
Mm-hmm.
Every one of us are on the hero's journey, but it's increased. It's not just within us. It's without us. As within, so without. So now the world is going through a lot of changes because we need to be able to work with what's going on in the elements.
It would seem to me that human beings today are confronted with bigger challenges than at any other time in our history.
Absolutely. And it's going to continue. It's not going to go away until we come together. And let it be said here first. Well, actually, John Lennon said it first. Come together over me.
Well, Mona Delfino, what a profound experience you've had, powerful. Thank you for sharing it. I'm very grateful to be able to share this with our viewers.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you for getting the word out, and thank you for letting me be here.
And thank you for making a special trip to Albuquerque. It's most appreciated.
It's my pleasure.
And thank you, too, for being with us.